Good afternoon. We're just going to brief you on the incident that an active shooter incident that took place this morning in town. It started out, we received a call at 10:32 to the area of Babcock Village, which is on 122 Cross Street in Westerly. It's a assisted living residential complex of 151 apartment units. So we received a call of a shooting of one victim. We received a second call that there was another victim shot. We responded. When we got there, we secured the building primarily at first. We did not have a suspect at the time. We began reviewing video surveillance in the building. We had to get an IT person from here up there to get into their system, with the video system in the building. And we began reviewing surveillance. We, with the assistance of the Stonington Police, Hopkinton Police, Groton Police, we called the Rhode Island State Police down to assist us. We called their TAC team down to join our TAC team to clear the building initially, not knowing who the suspect was at the time. As we continued to review video surveillance, we came up with a potential suspect, and we had a joint venture at that point with the Rhode Island State Police with their TAC team and ours to make an entry into a room with the potential suspect. The victims involved, there's 3 victims that were shot. One of the victims is 38 years old. One of the victims is 47 years old. And one of the victims is 66 years old, of the 3 victims. One of the victims was deceased at the scene. The other 2 victims were transported by ambulance, Westerly ambulance, one to Westerly Hospital and the second to Rhode Island Hospital. The one at Westerly Hospital is in critical condition, is being transported by Lifestar at this point to Yale New Haven Hospital. The one in Rhode Island Hospital is going to be going into surgery. Once we determined who the potential suspect was, we had both TAC teams assemble at the building to make entry into the room. Explain.
As the chief explained, once it was determined that it was a multiple victims and a possible active shooter, the Rhode Island State Police tactical team responded as well and assisted the Westerly Police Department. Both teams formed up and did a joint operation, a joint entry into the apartment where the suspect was located. And once again, the suspect was located through video surveillance at the front office where one of the victims was. The door was open, the robot entered and found the suspect appeared to have a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The suspect is, we're not releasing any names at this point. The suspect is a 66-year-old male that was a resident of the facility. The victims that were shot, 2 of them were workers of the facility, and one of the victims was a resident of the facility out of the victims that were shot. The investigation is ongoing. It's going to be a joint investigation between the Rhode Island State Police and the Westerly Police Department. We are currently at the scene, still processing the scene, executing search warrants, and the detectives from both divisions are collecting all evidence pertaining to the case. We're in the process of notifying families, is the reason why we're not notifying or releasing any of the names at this point. And we will have updates as we can release them.
Can you say, was it an employee that was killed, or was it a resident, and the age of the person that was killed?
Yes, the one deceased victim at the scene was an employee of the facility. The victim that is at Westerly Hospital and being transferred to Yale New Haven is also an employee, and the resident of Rhode Island Hospital that is going to be undergoing surgery as a resident.
And Chief, how can you, I know it's early, but can you characterize this as being any sort of genre or another? Like, does this shooter know his victims? Was this a grudge, or how would you characterize it?
So the investigation is ongoing, and we are looking into that. The suspect, the deceased suspect, was a resident there, and we're looking into any possible connection between him and the employees.
Did you recover the weapon, and can you tell us what kind of gun was used?
We did recover a weapon, but we will not release it. Once again, the investigation is ongoing.
There was an earlier report of someone having been let out in cuffs. Was that erroneous, or was that unrelated, or how did that fit in?
We did have a potential suspect at the, when we first arrived at the scene, who we did probably take out in handcuffs and interview him. He is no longer a suspect at this time.
Was the gun legally obtained? What do we know about the gun?
So once again, that is all part of the investigation, and we can't release anything at this point on that.
Just one gun?
One firearm was recovered, a handgun.
You had to breach the room with what? You said a robot. Was it like an explosive that actually breached the door? Or?
We had a robot enter the room, but we used a master key to get into the room, and then we had a robot go in with video capabilities. And at that time, the tactical team made entry and determined that the suspect was deceased.
Chief, can you share with us the feelings of people at this? I mean, this is a residential facility. Your men were in there. This must have caught them, obviously, in shock. They don't know this, obviously, is going to happen. Was there some type of chaos? Did they know what to do or how to get out?
They did not. Basically, the facility was a lockdown in place. We had the residents stay in their rooms. We did not let anybody in and out of the facility. Before we identified who the potential suspect was, again, it was a joint venture with our TAC team and the Rhode Island State Police TAC team. Every room was cleared. In other words, we did a cursory of every room to find out who was in the room, and we had them shelter in place until the suspect was in fact located.
Chief, all 3 victims are female?
All 3 victims are female.
And the suspect, did he have any history either with the police department or at the complex? Any problems?
I'm not sure of a history at the complex. We are familiar with the suspect.
Can you say how you're familiar with him?
We have just dealt with him in the past.
Did he have any no contact orders or anything on him at the time?
We're not aware of that at this point.
You said you dealt with a suspect in the past. Under what capacity?
I'm not even sure. I did not look. His name is in our system, so it doesn't mean he's in there for any reason other than we have had some sort of dealing with him in the past.
I know you're still investigating, but are you able to tell whether this was random or that he targeted these specific people?
We have no idea at this point.
Where did it take place in the facility? Was it in the office area or in one of the units?
Office area of the facility.
So he had come to that area? And
It appeared, again, we're trying to put the pieces together at this point, but it was in that general area.
And that was all caught on camera, the crime?
Not the entire thing. We were able to identify him in that area on camera. They have cameras through the whole facility and all the hallways.
But the shooting itself was not on camera?
We don't know that. We have not seen it yet. We're going to be reviewing all kinds of footage, but we did not see that. I'm not sure.
And do you believe all 3 were shot at roughly the same time in the same room?
We're not even sure. We're not even sure of that. The incident took place over a short period of time, so we're assuming it happened relatively quick.
What was the age of the victim?
The age, there's 3 victims.
Of the deceased victim, I'm sorry.
The deceased victim is going to be 47 years old.
Do you know how many shots were fired?
We're not aware of that. They're processing the scene as we speak.
Chief, can you just speak to the fact that you're a member of this community and just kind of your emotions just as a member of this community to have something like this happen?
Well, we obviously this is it's a low crime community. This is obviously a call or an active shooter situation that we don't handle on a regular routine basis, as most departments don't. I mean, it's a shock to the community. The complex that this took place in is a relatively, we're there on calls, but there's never any serious type of crimes of obviously of this nature by any means.
Several businesses nearby were shut down during the incident. Was there any police-issued lockdown order?
No, there was a lockdown order for the schools only. We had a lockdown on all the schools, the 3 town elementary schools, middle school and high school. They were put in lockdown immediately once the incident came into us. They was released after we located the suspect. The lockdown was lifted.
The hospital as well, though, right? Westerly Hospital was on
We did not. The hospital may have went in lockdown mode because of the incident. They were aware of the incident as one of the victims was transported to them.
And all the businesses shut down of their own accord? They
were shut down of their own accord. It was no issuance by the police.
Now, it's our understanding that Stonington schools were also on lockdown during this?
I'm not sure that Stonington was assisting us in this, in the search of the building and so forth. So I'm not sure if their school went into lockdown also.
Chief, Chief, do you know if the suspect has any history of mental issues?
We're not aware, we're still researching all that.
Was the robot provided by the bomb squad who saw the truck going in?
Yes, the Rhode Island State Bomb Squad has access to several of those robots, and both tactical teams utilize one of them.
You said you got 2 calls about the incident. Do you know who called you, who reported it?
I haven't rechecked the log yet, but we probably got several 911 calls come in. But I expressed at the beginning the first 2 calls that came in, 911 calls we received. I'm not sure at this point who actually made the calls.
Chief, the encounter actually happened in the front office, is that correct?
Front area, main entrance to the building, front office of the building. Again, we're putting that together now as to actually where the exact location.
Could you give us the time lapse from the time of your initial call to the time you knew that this guy was down and you did not have an active?
I don't have an accurate time log in front of me, but the call came in at 10:32 to us. We were on scene by 10:35, 3 minutes we were on scene. I am not sure of the time. It was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock by the time we went into the room and identified the suspect. The time we located him, I don't know. It would be logged in, but I don't
At
have
least
the
an
time, so we
hour.
know.
You know,
It's
you
probably-
thought.
Yeah,
there could
we
be
were
someone.
reviewing video footage for quite a bit to determine who it could possibly be.
To clarify, was the suspect found in a room in the front area where this happened, or in a room in his own residential area?
He was found in his residence.
In his residence.
Mhm.
And you mentioned some IT help that the police helped with. Was that how you determined that the person you were looking for was the suspect, and was that in that room?
We used our IT personnel from the police department to get us access into the surveillance system at the complex, because it was password encrypted, so he was able to get us into the camera system to review the footage.
How did you alert other residents at the complex when this occurred? What were they told at the time when the police were looking into where the shooter was?
No, when we did a search with the state police to do an actual search of the entire building, we notified every single resident in every room to remain in their room. You know, as the incident was ongoing, no, there was residents that would have come out of the room. They were ordered to get back into their room.
Was that through an intercom system, or were you going?
Door to door, opening every door in the facility.
I think what I'm trying to get at is what led you to the suspect, what clues led you?
We identified a potential suspect on the video system, somebody that went into the area and came out of the area shortly around the time. And there was disruption after that prior to us being called.
Chief, it's so rare for Westerly to have a homicide. When was the last time you had an incident like this?
We have had. I couldn't. I'd actually have to go look. I'm not sure. We haven't had active shooter incidents per se, but we've had serious tragic events before. Obviously, I'm not sure.
About how many people live in that facility?
There's 151 units, so some have 2 people, most have 1. So I'm guessing there's 250 maybe residents in the facility.
And you characterize it, Chief, as assisted living?
It's an assisted subsidized housing complex. So it's not an elderly complex.
Right.
It's any age can, there's no age restrictions there.
When you first arrived, was it panic? Were there a lot of people running around upset?
Not to what I was told. It was at the main entrance of the facility is where the incident took place. So there was some people running around at that, but there wasn't a lot. Most of the people were in their rooms never even realized it happened.
When was the last homicide you had in town?
Excuse me?
When was the last homicide you had here?
I'm not sure. I'd have to actually look up the date. I'm not sure.
It would be years.
I don't know if it was years, but a couple of years. I'm not.
The victim, is she fairly well known in town? Can you say anything about her without identifying her?
No, I'd rather not disclose. She's local in town, yes,
Right,
that is
right.
correct, but I'm not going to disclose any other information.
Okay.
We have the families. We're in the process of trying to notify the families of the people involved at this point.
You might have already said it, I'm sorry. Did you do the gender breakdown of the victims? Can you do it one more time?
The 3 victims are females.
3 people.
The 3 victims are females. The deceased victim at the scene is 47 years old, and the 2 that were transported to the hospital are a 66-year-old female and a 38-year-old female.
And the second employee that was shot, were they a Westerly resident?
Say that again?
The second employee that was shot, are they a Westerly resident?
I believe, 1 second. No, she is not.
And the resident was a 66-year-old?
The resident, the suspect was a 66-year-old male.
I'm sorry,
The resident that was shot, the woman.
Yeah, she was a resident of the facility.
And she's
67 years old.
67.
So if I have it correct, Chief, the suspect actually shot 3 people towards the entrance of the building and then went to his own quarters and shot himself fatally.
Again, it's under investigation that, there was 3 people shot at the scene of the incident, and then he was found in his room.
Which victim, can you tell us, was taken to the Elm Haven? The 67-year-old or the?
38-year-old female.
Can you just speak to an officer's mindset when they're entering a scene like this with such limited information and knowing that there's multiple victims?
Obviously, we train for it. The officers train for it constantly in the event that it ever does happen. But their mindset when they go in is to go right to the threat. So if there's an active shooter incident, you're going right to the shooter to obviously eliminate the shooter or isolate the shooter at that point. So it's very hectic, to say the least.
Could you give us your names before you head out? Appreciate that. And titles.
Names?
Yeah, just end the mics.
Yeah, my name is Sean Lacey, SHAWN-LACEY, Chief of Police of Westerly.
My name is Colonel James Manny, M-A-N-N-I, Superintendent, Rhode Island State Police.
Did either of you guys want to say?
No, why don't you? I'm Chris Duhamel, the President of the Westerly Town Council. And I can just thank the Chief for his quick response. And
Chris, could you step right in the middle there, please?
I would just like to thank Chief Lacey for his quick response in protecting our community, the lockdown of the schools, patrolling the schools during the time where the shooter was not found, providing that safety to the children and the parents is just amazing that the Chief came through for us. So that's very reassuring throughout the day from the Chief.
Thank you. We're good. Thank you.
Mark Rooney, Town Manager, Westerly.
Okay.
And then the Attorney General.
I'm Peter Nerone, I'm the Attorney General.
Chief, can you clarify, we heard reports that a second victim died and was revived. Is there accuracy to this?
The second victim there's one victim that has passed. The second victim has not, or second or third has not. The one that's being transferred to Yale New Haven is in extreme critical condition.
And the one in surgery is also in critical condition?
The one at Rhode Island Hospital is out of surgery. The last report that I have, and she's in stable condition.
And that's the older resident?
The older resident.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one other point. You see the Attorney General here, represented here. So as part of the investigation, Attorney General's office responds down to assist with the investigation to include search warrants and make sure that everything is addressed in a proper manner. Sir, do you want to speak anything on that?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that, other than to say, obviously it's a tragic day for Westerly and, of course, the victims. And, our role in any situation like this is to provide legal support to the investigators from Westerly and the State Police as they pursue their investigation.
This may be obvious, but you don't think anyone else is out there. You've got one guy, and there's no further need to worry about anybody else.
There does not appear to be anybody else involved at this point. Again, as the investigation continues, you could yield other information or evidence, but at this point, no. We feel as though that we have the lockdown in the schools is been lifted, and the facility is actually, other than the area that we're dealing with, is going to be opened back up where the residents can move freely.
The emphasis, there's no ongoing threat.
Yeah, there's no ongoing threat to the community at this point.
You had mentioned that Stonington Police had helped you with the investigation. Were they actually on the scene? I know some of the schools in North Stonington have a shelter in place, but did Stonington Police come over the border and assist you?
They did. Stonington Police, there were several of Stonington's officers on scene with us during the incident. So Stonington Police, Hopkinton Police, Groton Police came over to assist. Rhode Island State Police, several members were also on the scene during the incident. Then they assembled their SWAT team. Their detectives came in, which are all processing the crime scene at this point.
And was Stonington Schools locked down as well?
I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure. They very well may have. I'm not sure. Usually if there's an incident, if there's a suspect that has not been located or we're looking for, it is common practice to lock a school facility down just in case.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.